find more comfortable. I'm just going to write a few things up here if you want to get ready, because I'm going to be kind of quick. I have a little boy at home that's waiting for me for his school project, so. I'm doing this right now so that we can just move through this, okay? We'll talk about this in a minute. How many of you have a dream that you want to see become a reality? How many of you? Awesome. How many of you have a dream that has become a reality, but the process to get there was nothing that you thought it was going to be? Okay, that was me. So I had a dream, and I've had a dream for a very long time, probably since I was 18 years old. I wanted to go on a mission, and I wanted to love people, and I wanted to teach the truth. And I wanted to teach about Jesus Christ. And that dream came true when I was 41 years old, and I was married and had 4 children. God said, go to Kenya. I said, yes, okay. How are we supposed to do that? So he showed me, and literally we picked our family up. We sold everything. We moved into a trailer, lived in a trailer for 4 months in the winter, saved every penny we had so we could get on the airplane to go to Kenya to serve the people there. So a year before, I had gone on an expedition, a humanitarian expedition, and when I got there, I knew it was part of my life mission. So a year later, took our children. Served with all of our hearts, loved them to pieces, taught them truth, had people around the world that were following us on Facebook. We were a well-known family, the McMurdo family. Took their kids to Kenya. What they didn't see is that the nightly arguments that went on in our house between my husband and I. What they didn't see is the moment that he grabbed me by the throat and put me up against the wall in front of my children. What he didn't see was the screaming matches that we had, the things that were thrown, the time my husband threw himself over the car to stop my daughter and I from being able to leave to have safety. And the very last, what they didn't see is when my husband just about knocked me out. In fact, he did. That's what nobody saw. But that's not my story. That's just what happened. You understand? So I say that I had these things, okay? And I was a victim, right? I had things happen to me. And we came home from Kenya. We experienced so many beautiful things there. So we had the good, we had the yin and the yang, right? But when we came home from Kenya, I knew it was time for me to change my story. It was time for me to change my life. And it was time for me to help my children change their lives. And so as soon as we came home from Kenya, there was a complete separation from my husband and I, okay? And during this time, this is the time that I started figuring out what is going on. How have I been here? Because just 5 years earlier, I had faced the issues about all the childhood stuff, the teenage stuff, all that stuff you guys heard. And I thought, I've got this. I am on top of the world. And then here we are, 5 years later. The dream that I thought that I wanted, which it still did. I had that dream, but there was more to it. So I started asking questions. I asked a coach to help me because I was in so much pain as I realized what had really happened that year and what my children had watched and seen and what I had been a part of. And I didn't want it anymore. I didn't want that life anymore. So I hired a coach. And on an especially painful day, he said, this is to celebrate. I looked at him. He's like, you are such a powerful creator. Look at what you created. I was like, say what? You're telling me that I created this, that I asked for this. And he said, I want you to think about this. And he asked me, what in you created this? Because I knew about the law of attraction. I knew that I was a creator. But I was stuck in pointing the blame at my husband. He did this to me, this happened to me, I was perfect, I did all the right things, I served, I was a great mom, we did family home evening, we did all this stuff, he's the one, he was the one. It's his fault. And then he asked me this question. And he said, you are just as much responsible for this. He's like, the truth is that you don't want to look at is you are just as much responsible for this situation in your life as your husband is. And I broke down. And he said, your assignment is to figure out what in you created this situation because you're a creator. And so I started looking. Okay, I got myself in a situation where I was getting beat up. So what was happening on the inside? Because this is what I learned. Our outside world reflects what is going on our inside. Because if we are truly creators, which we are, we came from a creator, we have part of the creator inside of us. We create things all the time, right? So I started looking, and this is what I found. I had spent years and years and years beating myself up in my own mind. I was never good enough. I was never enough. I withheld love from myself. I withheld love from him. I withheld love from my kids. And this self-talk was constantly a negative. Well, why didn't you do that? Oh, you should have done that. Oh, now you've messed this up. That was my talk. That was my inner world. That is what I lived with every day, was that kind of environment within myself. That, I put on the persona that everything was good, I'm perfect, I'm good, okay? But on the inside, and so this is how it came out. So I literally attracted a situation where I was getting beat up. Can you see how that's working? Yeah. And did I beat him up? Oh yeah, I did. With my words, with withholding love, throwing things. So I was just as much a part of what was happening and creating as he was. When I realized that, when I realized and stepped into accountability, that is when things started to change for me. That is when my story in my own mind about myself started to change. Because I realized that I wasn't a victim. Did I make a choice for him? No, I didn't choose what he did. But did I make my own choices about what I was allowing in my life, what I was allowing in my mind, what I was participating in? Yes. And when I started to realize that I had created that, then I started to look into, And the thing that came to my mind, just what my coach said, if I was so powerful that I created that, then what else can I create? And that's when I started asking myself, who am I? Who do I want to be? How do I want my life to be? And I started asking questions about what I really wanted and what I wanted to create next. That had I not realized that I was accountable for this, and this is a touchy subject. If you talk to domestic victims, they're gonna go head to head on you, and they are not gonna let up. So this is extremely powerful. Same with victims of rape, which I've been, and I've actually traced back to how I created that situation for myself as well. And it is so empowering. So empowering. So part of being able to come out of being a victim is being willing to look inside and ask the question, what in me is creating this? So I invite you to write that down. What in me? What is the possibility? What in me? What thoughts? What beliefs? What words? What memories? What experiences am I holding on to? Am I focusing on that is creating this in my life? The second question I had to ask was, how is this serving me? Because this has been like 20 years almost of being a victim, of creating this. Why did I stay in it? How was it serving me? That was a very powerful question as well, and it empowered me. Because I realized that I had a belief that I couldn't create good things, that I wasn't capable of it, that I wasn't capable of taking care of myself, that I didn't deserve good things. And when I got to the bottom of how is this serving me and realizing, oh, it's keeping me stuck in this belief that I don't deserve good things. It's keeping me stuck in this belief, which is really comfortable for me. Here, you take care of me, because I can't take care of myself. So it was really awesome, because we always had people giving us stuff. We always had people taking care of us. Never really taking accountability for some other things. So it kind of got to be an easy lifestyle in a sense, and that's how it was serving me. Because I didn't have to get out of my comfort zone. I didn't have to face the truth about me. That's another powerful question. How is this serving me? How is it keeping me comfortable? That's really a better question. Because we like to be comfortable, yes? Do we like to be comfortable? Yeah, do we like to feel safe? We do. Those are basic human needs. Feeling comfortable and feeling safe are needs. It's important to us. Even if it's a dysfunctional comfort, it's still something that we know. It's familiar. Yeah. So that's how I was comfortable, you know? So I'm giving you some really key tools of being able to come out of being a victim, that mindset, okay? These are the things that I did to help myself, to come into a place where now I'm creating a different story, and I'm in charge of me, and I live the life that I want to. So, the other thing, if you see these two up here, let me share with you where I'm at in my life right now, because that wasn't very long ago. That was a year ago, actually, almost to this day. We left the 25th of May. So it's almost just been a year. The divorce was just finalized. I just changed my name. I am a single mom right now, experiencing being a single mom with my children, and learning how to be successful in the things that I love. Building my own business, which scares the crap out of me. Every day I am out of my comfort zone because I have 4 kids that are relying on me, and everybody's saying, you need to go get a job, you need to go get a 9-to-5 job, you should be doing this, and I'm like, you know what?
Thanks for your input.
Thank you so much. I'm the creator of my life, and I get to choose. And I choose to put my children first. They deserve to have a mommy. And I believe in myself as a coach. I believe in myself as a healer. I believe in myself as a speaker. And I know that God's behind me. And I know He's cheering me on. And I know He loves me. And here's the other piece that's so important. I love me. You want to really know what made the difference? Really. I can give you all of these steps, but I will tell you the thing that changed everything. Those questions and this. Because what was I not doing? What had I not been doing all of those years? Loving myself just right where I was. Seeing the good. Knowing that I was great, just right where I was. So practicing radical self-love was really the thing that has brought me from seeing myself as a victim, because I could have kept myself in that cycle. Oh, now look, you're divorced. Now you're alone. Look at what you did. Why did you do that? Oh, you're stupid. That was so. I could have kept that going. And then what would have happened? I would have just created it all over again, right? So I had to change the way that I was feeling about myself, and I had to change the language that I was using in my mind. I had to change my story. I had to see myself differently. Not a broken down, beaten down victim. I had to change my story to see that I was a powerful, strong, courageous woman.
Will you define radical for me?
Yeah. You tell me. What is radical to you? When I say radical.
Outside the norm.
Thank you. Outside of the norm, I would say outside of the box. Wild. Crazy. Extreme. Courageous.
Against the grain.
Against the grain. Anyone else? To me, this means no matter what happens, no matter what I experience that day, no matter what my choice is, when shame wants to knock on the door, when fear wants to knock on the door, when doubt, when worry want to knock on the door, which these are things that we deal with every day as human beings. When those come into my space and they want me to play with them, they want to dance with me, I say, no, thank you. And I choose to love myself. So I say it's radical because most of us have been programmed to respond to shame, to respond to guilt, to respond to fear, to respond to worry, to respond to doubt, to respond to anger. We're just human beings. Me radically loving myself is saying, oh, I see you, shame. worry. But guess what? You don't serve me. I love myself enough to stay in love, to accept myself in every moment, through every experience that is presented to me. That's why I call it radical. Because every experience we go through, several throughout the day, we are making choices, several, over and over and over. With each interaction we have with a person, with each thought that comes into our mind, we have a choice. We can choose how we're going to respond, yes or no.
Yeah.
So the reason why I call it radical is because I stay on it. I am committed to filling my heart with love and having love for myself, no matter what choice I make, no matter no matter what is happening to me that day. Does that make sense? Now, choices are going to have consequences. But the number one thing a pit that we fall into that keeps us from healing and keeps us in victim at times is that we think that the choices that we make, the experiences that we have in this life, and we all have experiences every day, we think that that makes us good or bad. We let it define the worth that we have and the love that we have for ourselves. So when we can detach and just say it's an experience, I'm having an experience and I'm learning a lesson and I love myself. Of all the things I can teach and go through, this is the most powerful. This is what shifts your thinking. This is what shifts what's going on in your heart. And this is what gives you the courage to get out of your comfort zone, to change your story. Thank you for that question. Any other questions? Anna, what time is it?
You have a good chunk of time if you would like to take it, about 15 minutes.
I do. I just want to make sure I'm out by 3:30
Okay.
because I have traffic and I have a little boy that's waiting.
Oh, okay. So you have about 7 minutes. to
Okay.
3:30.
Which is not the norm for me, so I apologize. Just happened to be today. Okay, any other questions on how this feels, what this looks like?
How do you change your story and have it be believable?
Good question. I love that. For me, what I did is I actually sat down, and this is a skill I was given a long time ago, so I just used it. I sat down and I put negative on one side and positive on another. And I started writing down all of the voices in my mind, all the things that I had said to myself or that I had heard over and over and over again. You're not worthy of love, you're stupid, you're incapable. If people only knew who you really were, all of those ugly things that we hear or that we've all said that we don't admit. So I literally sat down and just started lining it out. And I really was starting to look at what was going on for me in Kenya. You know, because that was the height of what happened was there. And then what I started to do is I would go on the other side and I would put positive. But I wouldn't just write something that countered the negative. Some of you have seen this. Have you heard of find it and flip it? Or you see, so yeah, but I didn't just do something that countered it. I actually looked at it and said, okay, what's the truth? What truth do I want in me? And how do I really want to feel about myself? What do I want my truth to be? So let's say I'm not lovable. I would say, what's the truth? And for me, I discovered not only am I lovable, I am loved. It's the essence of who I am. I am loved. I was born from love. I was created from love. I literally am loved. And it was so beautiful because I didn't discover that until I started doing this, and I was asking, what's the truth? So I'd ask myself, I'd look at that and I would say, what's the truth? And what do I want to create? I ask myself those two questions with each one. And then I started piecing together my story of who I am. I am a highly sought after, highly paid presenter, mentor, and facilitator of healing. I am love and I am light. I am bold, brass, and beautiful. I am strong. I am faith-filled. I'm an amazing mother of 4 children. And that's what I started. I started with my story of who I was first. And then I recorded it, and I listened to it all the time. And when shame comes knocking at the door, when fear comes knocking at the door, when all those lies come knocking at the door, guess what? My brain and my heart start kicking into gear. Oh, you are strong. I am strong. I am faith-filled. I am love. I am light. And the more I would say it, the more I started to feel it in my heart. And that's where you want to go when you're changing your story. You know that your story is changing when you can not only, those things are starting to come to your mind, but when you are actually feeling it in your heart, where you can feel the energy of that. When I say I love myself, I can feel it right here. It's super cool. I can feel that I love myself. And it took a really long time because I would just start saying it and it felt so uncomfortable. So I'm like, that's a big fat lie. Dang, I'm not there yet. So I just kept working on it. And the other really important piece, does that answer your question about writing your story? So right now I'm working on my relationship with my children, that story, because that needs to change. So I write down what's happening, the reality of what's happening, and then I'm looking at what do I want to create. And you can do this with different relationships in your life. So I started with me first, because that's the first relationship we need to have, is the relationship with ourselves. If we can't love ourselves, then we really don't have anything left to give other people. Is that clear? Did that answer?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, any other questions about writing your story? Yes.
So I've heard of this changing your story and rewriting it before, but for me, whenever I try to say it to myself or anything like that, it's very uncomfortable, and to me, it feels like I'm not being genuine with myself,
Yeah.
even though that's false, because you're trying to tell yourself the truth of that you are lovable or
Yeah.
you are light, but how can I change it to where I'm feeling like it's actually genuine rather than it being
Just
such-
words.
Just words.
Just
yeah.
words. Yep. Have you looked at the opposite? So you say you're saying these things, but have you looked at what you really believe? Because you're having a disconnect between what you really believe and what you want to believe. And that's really important. Is getting to what you really believe. And I believe you guys may have talked about this morning. I wasn't here, but actually getting really authentic about what you really believe about yourself. And that's what I had to do. I had to get real about what was really going on and what I really believed about myself. And when I was able to face that, then I could start to create a different belief about myself. So I would say the disconnect is in that. And maybe be willing to consider that maybe you don't believe that and why. And that's kind of a deeper, that's something, it's belief, it's attacking those beliefs. And if we have time, yeah.
I just want to let you know what it is 3:30.
Okay,
You still have time according to us.
yep, thank you. Okay, I'll take 5 more minutes. Okay. That's a process, belief work, that's worth doing, and it's part of the healing as well. But it's just getting still with yourself, and asking yourself, what do I really believe? What's the truth that I know? Because there's truth, but there's also our truth. And what we believe is our truth in a way. So as you can sit with yourself, and if I had time, I would walk you guys through this because I was going to. If you want to get to those things, you actually take the time to just meditate. Does everybody know how to get grounded and clear? Have you heard of that? You know how to ground yourself? Okay, I'll give you do this really quickly. This is gonna help you. Okay. Actually, can you guys close your eyes, put your feet on the ground? This is a way for you to get connected to your spirit, your highest best self, the essence of who you are, that all-knowing place. Okay? So just want you to close your eyes. Take a big deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. We'll do this 3 times. Big deep breath in. And out. One more time in. I want you to keep breathing. I want you to picture at the top of your head a ray of light coming in. Keep breathing. That light starts at the top, and with each breath in, it moves down through your body. Nobody's breathing. Breathe in. Breathe that light in and blow out. With each breath in, that light spreads down through your body. All the way through your face, your neck, shoulders, chest, all the way through your legs, down through your feet. And when you're feeling peaceful, I actually want you to put your left hand on your heart. Put your hand on your heart. And ask yourself a question that you want to know the answer to. So for you, I would say, what's the belief that's keeping me stuck right now? What's the untrue belief that's keeping me stuck? And then listen. Whatever comes to your mind, that's what you write down. So I invite you, when you've gotten an answer to your question, if it's the belief one, to take a minute to open your eyes and write this down. This is a very valuable piece of information for you to use to start to begin your own transformation, to start to change your own story. This is actually the process. I do this work every day. I ask myself about what untrue belief that's keeping me stuck. And when that comes up for me, I write it down. And then I start to play with, where did this come from? And what's the truth? And this is the last key. I forgive myself for holding on to that belief. I forgive myself for being afraid to let go of the belief. Forgiveness is a tool of releasing. It's a tool that opens up the way for you to be able to heal. Because we've got to move that stuff out, that negative stuff, that untrue stuff that keeps stuck in us to make room for the new. This is a tool that I use every day. When I know that I've held on to shame, or I've held on to guilt, or I'm holding on to fear. Did you get your answer? Cool. Do you want to share, or is it personal?
It's pretty personal.
Okay, I encourage you to follow that thread. See if you can find out where that came from. Okay? Use forgiveness to release that. And it may be from a memory, it may be people that it's connected to. And forgive and release it, so you can create the space to start creating what your new belief is. Okay? That's what I've been doing. That's part of how I changed my story as well. I get into those beliefs and I ask myself. Then I use forgiveness to release the negative emotions around it, and I start to create my new story of what I want, what the truth is. Okay? I hate to leave, I'm so sorry. Was there one more question?
So how can they connect with you? Is there a way that they can connect with you?
Yes, please.
There's people in the room that want to connect with you, so.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go to my website, www.pureessence, I'll write it right here. PUREESSENCE pureessencehealing.com.
And what will that do for them?
This will just bring you to a page where you can put your name and contact me. For those of you who are here, I would love, anyone that's interested, I would love to do a half-hour complimentary coaching session with you if you would like. You just put your name in there and just put Master the One on the code, and then I'll know that it's you, okay?
What was your name?
My name is Aleesha, ALEESHA.
So pureessencehealing.com.
Mhm.
They'll go there and then they'll put in their information for a consultation.
Yep, it'll scroll down to the bottom, and you can put in your name, and then it'll have a code.
Great. And the code is become or
Master the One.
Master the One.
Yep,
The number one or the spelling?
the spelling.
Okay.
Yeah, the spelling. Yep. Okay, any other questions? Thank you so much. It's been such an honor to be here. Thank you for letting me be vulnerable with you. This is the first time that I've actually gotten up in front of a group of people since we've been home. So, yeah, with my new name and my new message. So, thank you so much. It's been an honor to be here. Appreciate you.
Thank you.